thought you usually clap us in, or
Yeah,
make me like stomp or something.
Hey, bro, we got this, bro.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Man, that was so that's so bad. Fuck it, we're rolling now.
Yeah.
So, welcome to another episode of Mofos with a Long podcast. This time we bring back Alex from the Train to Busan episode.
Yeah.
Because he did such a good job, very professional. You know? Oh my god. Just had to get you back. And with this episode we'll be doing The Credibles. And this one came out in 04? 04? That's so long ago now, like any memories you have of back then when you saw it as a kid?
I went and saw it. I was in the 6th grade.
Okay.
So you would have been 7th grade, Armando. And I don't even know how old you are, Uli.
Oh, I'm about to be 28.
So you're like our age.
I'm the same age.
Okay. Yeah, but I remember I went to go see it for my birthday, and at first I was like disappointed because I wanted to see something else. And then I came out of the theater thinking, I was like, damn, this is better than like what we were gonna go see. Because I was like really surprised because the only promos that they did for The Incredibles for that movie came out, they had like one 20-second commercial, if y'all remember.
I remember.
And it was just Mr. Incredible trying to put his belt on.
Yeah.
And he was fat.
It was
so he couldn't fit into it.
It was also in the Finding Nemo DVD. Yeah, it was like an Easter egg in the Finding Nemo DVD.
Oh, yeah.
That's the only thing I remember too. I can't remember any commercials about this movie.
Yeah. So I just remember I was so surprised at how kind of dark or mature the movie was, based on just the single commercial that they had put out before, because it was super goofy.
Yeah. You remember everything?
I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I don't remember the first time I saw it. I've seen it so many times, so pinpointing the first time and memories attached to it, nah, not really, to be honest. But it's definitely kind of like you said. It's a very it's a mature movie. Not that's not the right word. It's not a mature movie, but it has something for everybody to keep everybody engaged. It has layers, so it's okay, this part is more for the kids who will only understand up to this point. This is for the kids who are more developed and will understand these points. And it does a good job of entertaining everybody without bringing anything alarming or introducing something that would be alarming to kids or something like that. So it's very well rounded. It's a movie that kind of can entertain anybody. I feel like.
Yeah, going with you guys, statements. Yeah, my first experience was the same thing with you. I saw the clip in Finding Nemo DVD, and I went to go see it with my grandma, my mom. A random ass group to go watch this movie with, and yeah, like you, it was very everybody was entertained. My grandma, who barely understands English, thought the movie was good, because it's just there's entertainment. And watching it now, there was some adult-oriented jokes. I was I did not know. I just didn't know back then. We could talk about specifics later on, but if you guys want to touch on touch on that, or maybe wait till later on?
I mean, the most obvious one to me was when he catches them all with his zapper. He's like, "You married Elastigirl and got busy."
Yeah.
So you know what? Though? I caught that one, but it was the banter at the beginning between Elastigirl and Mr. Incredible. We can talk about that in a minute, but that banter, I didn't totally understand it as a kid, and now as an adult going back, I'm oh yeah, it's obvious, but
about flexibility and shit. Yeah, but since we're in the beginning, we'll get introduced. What's it called? Edge City? Is that the name of this city?
Did they even give this city? I don't even think they gave it.
If they did,
it just went over. Yeah, I mean, it's a very crime-ridden city in the beginning because a bunch of shit was just going on. There was another thing I was surprised to see was they actually had guns and stuff. I guess maybe in today's world, maybe they want to try to limit it.
So something, and I like that you brought that up because up until that point, Pixar, the only movies that they'd done, so they did Toy Story, the first one.
Yeah.
They did Toy Story 2. They did Bug's Life. They did Finding Nemo, and they did Monsters Inc.
Yeah.
And so those were very, like, I think the most threatening thing out of any of those movies is probably like Finding Nemo, where the mom gets eaten at the beginning, you know, and even then it was kind of like not totally shown.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and they were also mostly those videos were about like animals or toys. So this was like an interesting departure for Pixar, where it's about like people, and like you said, like I was surprised to see guns in it too. The first time I was like, oh wow, or, you know.
Actually, like there's actually some violence going on. Yeah, I guess I didn't even think about that. The history of Pixar up to that point.
This is like the first movie I think that like involves like
Blood.
yeah, like, well, not because I think Nemo had like a little bit of blood, but like not like how do I put it, like a little bit of gore, a little bit of like
There's violence.
yeah, there's violence like across it, but it's like, how do you do a superhero movie without that? You know what I mean? But it did a good job of like staying contained to where it wasn't like, oh, I think this is like a little too much for kids. It was just kind of like, and it wasn't like pushing the envelope either. It was like exactly where it needed to be. So
one thing I found fun is that we do see a lot of people die on screen, but they get blown the fuck up. So it's like you never see the aftermath, but you're like, oh, he's definitely dead.
Yeah. No, I appreciated that. Well, and before we get too far into the movie, before we talk about the intro, I like how most things that are shown in the movie, like just about everything, has a place. Like it's there for a reason, and it gets referenced later on.
Yes.
Like I thought that was a really good job in the screenplay.
It's not really that's not facts in the movie. You know, like you said, everything makes sense. They set up a lot of things, like even like Gazer Beam disappearance in the newspaper. It gets set up so well to when you actually see it as the aftermath, but I guess that's much later into the movie. But yeah, so we get introduced to Mr. Incredible. What's his name?
So they have Robert Parr, they have Helen, and I don't know what her like non-married name was, and then they have Frozone. Did they ever talk about Frozone's actual name is? I can't even remember.
I don't remember.
Lucius, isn't it?
Oh yeah, Lucius. There we go. Yeah, but the movie starts out with them doing like an interview. Well, they do the interviews, and I do have to say something about the time period. I might have talked to you about this for something, Armando, because I think you were trying to get me into Gotham for a while. The TV show.
Oh, bro, no. I apologize if I was trying to get you into that show, bro. Like,
you showed me Gotham.
It took me watching that whole show for me to realize this is not a good show.
Yeah. He showed me a clip at work. I was like, how did you watch 5 years of this shit, man?
I was so invested, bro.
Okay, but the one thing that Gotham like did, or like, I like how The Incredibles tries to make it timeless in a sense. Like it takes place in the 70s, but they like simplified the world so that the technology in and of itself, it doesn't ever feel dated per se. If that makes sense, you know, like there's some movies where you can tell like the things in the background and stuff like that. It's very much like a period piece, or gives it that. Like there's something about this that makes it. I think it translates well even into today. Yeah, if that makes sense. Like, they simplify everything, which I like.
Funny enough, like I was watching this with my girlfriend, who's in the background here, but and she mentioned like it wasn't until the second movie she realized it's kind of like an exaggerated version of the 50s to the 70s. But because they do such a good way of like hiding or just making it like normal, or it doesn't stand out too much, but it's seamless. It blends into the movie very well. The time period, because I think the beginning is more 50s, 60s, like James Bond, early James Bond era type shit. Then after they get married, it's like more in the 70s and stuff like that. So, but it does really well. Like even though they have like advanced technology, it still makes sense in that universe, in that world.
But yeah, they start off on the interviews though. Yeah, and I thought it was like a good introduction to them, because you see the way they answer the questions differently. They get the same questions, but like it gives you like a little peek into like their personality. Frozone's the man, you know.
Frozen, that guy. I mean, cool as hell. No pun intended.
Superhero lady is always trying to tell you the secret identity.
Yeah. Sorry, go on.
No. Well, what's interesting is like you could tell they're all at the peak of like their careers, their lives. But it's interesting because like the stuff that like Robert's talking about, he's talking about, you know, like, oh, it'd be nice to, you know, not have to clean this up for 5 minutes. Or, you know, he talks about all this stuff. And Elastigirl's the one where like, settle down. Yeah. Are you kidding me? Like right now? But it kind of flips pretty early on, like their actual like...
Yeah, that's true.
Perspective.
Yeah, perspective. You know? Yeah, especially after they actually do get settled down. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, how it just flips. Yeah. But yeah, we see Mr. Incredible, like, you know, doing a bunch of heroic stuff, saving the cat from the tree, using the tree to take care of the bad guys, then he goes to go stop a criminal at the top of the building.
Yeah, well, he stops. Well, first, like to your point, like he stops, and I love that scene because it balances like the superhero kind of tropes, like the almost the fireman like rescuing the cat from the tree type thing, but then also like stopping the bad guy, and he does them both at the same time.
Yeah,
but he's like got the smile on the whole time. Like, but to your point, like that, I was really. I don't know, impacted is the right word, or like I just remember seeing that attempted suicide scene right after that.
Okay.
Like, and I guess I'm jumping a little bit ahead
No,
because after he saves that, after he saves the cat in the tree, he stops the robber. He's on top of the roof. And this is like when you first like see him and Elastigirl talk together, and I thought that they were just like kind of flirting.
Yeah,
I didn't pick up on all the vibes when I was like a kid. So when she said, he's like, "Oh, nice seeing you here," I thought that they really didn't like know each other per se. And so like later on in the movie, I was like, "Oh, they're getting married." I didn't realize that. I didn't pick up on like all the banter because I was a little kid. But the suicide portion, like I don't know. I feel like some of that stuff rings truer even more today. Like the people not wanting to be saved, taking you to court, all that stuff. Like it was a big, I don't know. It was interesting.
It's funny because that's, I guess I'll say this now. That's my biggest and only problem about the movie. It's just how coincidental that guy. He's trying to commit suicide. He gets saved, and it's in the same building. Was it Bon Voyage? It's about to blow up too. I'm like, okay, this is too much in just that one building. Just that one scene. And it's also because those two things happen to be impactful throughout the whole movie. Like the guy getting saved is what made superheroes, kind of like they got outlawed, and but also Bon Voyage, that also going to raise why Buddy is also
okay. Here comes
stuff.
Here we go.
I'm gonna counter that point a little bit because I think it's a moment of like suspending the disbelief. Because I think that everything that happens in the opening sequence is all to show you just like how, to his point when he was doing the interview, he's like, can we just stay like safe for like 5 minutes so I don't have to like do all this stuff? And it just kind of shows the hustle and bustle of like what it is to be a superhero for Bob. Because he's like constantly like everyone needs everything. And so like he's on this high speed pursuit to go catch this like criminal. And this lady's like, oh, it's Mr. Incredible. Of course he has time to get my cat out of the tree. And he's like, all right, let me. And so like he's trying to cover like everything. And so I gave it a little more leeway. I also thought like the way that they handled the suicide, like it was, because these are things that happen in real life that potentially kids are going to get at least have like some exposure to in some way. And I thought that it wasn't like focused too heavily on to the point of like, oh, you're going to have like a deep conversation with your kid about this after you go see the movie. But like it introduces the idea of like, not everyone necessarily wants to be here. And there's like an ethical dilemma of like, is that their choice to say that they don't want to be here and then take care of that themselves, or like is it your duty as someone to like step in or something, like kind of just to introduce that ethical kind of quandary without having to go too deep into it, because it's also at the very beginning it can be overlooked for kids who aren't looking into the movie that deep.
And I love, and all of this, like you, to your point, Armando, how he's going from saving the woman's cat, stopping the robbers, getting the jewelry thief on top of the building, saving the guy. Like it's his wedding day, and at that point we didn't know that it was his wedding day. Frozone alludes to it. He's like, "Shouldn't you be getting ready?" And he's like, "I still got time," because like that's his dedication to this. Like he was willing to show up at his own wedding like late because like he loves what he does. Like it's just he's at the top of his game, and I love the scene. I know you didn't. I don't know how you feel about Bon Voyage, but I love Bon. He shows up and he's like, I mean, that's just that swag, and there's like, and like, and Incredible Boy, and I was like, this is such a good scene right there.
Or he starts like talking mad shit about Incredible Boy, about his outfit and stuff. But going back to the actual suicide day, I was surprised they actually said the guy was going to commit suicide. Because I didn't notice that as a kid, but I was like, man, that's kind of heavy to put in a kids movie. But yeah, they definitely do a good job of like balancing that out. And also they make it very fast that kids won't pay attention to it, and the storyline just keeps going. But it still establishes the rest of the movie and moving forward.
And when he saves them, the guy's like, "Oh, I think I broke something." Mr. Incredible, he's just playing it off. He's like, "Well, with counseling, you're gonna be okay."
Yeah.
You know? And so you don't think much about it, and so when it comes back later, you're like, "Oh, like that was."
It was funny how the guy said in the interview, like, you ruined my death.
You saved my life.
You're my death. You didn't want to go, man. But so going back now to the what's his name, Bon Voyage and Buddy. Yeah, how do you guys? That to me, that was a funny ass scene because Bon Voyage, he's talking shit about Incrediboy just being so delusional, just wanted to help because he's a super fan. A stan, now people say, but it does a good job establishing what happens later on.
So Buddy Syndrome, he was not meant to be the main villain originally for The Incredibles. It was going to be like another business dude or whatever. Oh, okay. But I'm glad that they changed it and made him, because like that scene at the beginning, you could tell like he is the biggest fan.
Oh yeah,
and I feel like this culture has only kind of increased now over the last 10 years with social media and the internet like becoming bigger and bigger. But like it made the relationship with them more personal. It's kind of like Scooby-Doo, like the thing I liked about Scooby-Doo growing up was it taught you that the villains usually aren't like unknown strangers, but they're like people that you like know in your life,
like the principal or something.
Like the principal.
Old man Jenkins.
No, but I like that because like when it comes full circle later on, it's like he kind of helped make his own villain, like it was, I don't know, I appreciated that.
Oh yeah,
like it was a more personal bond.
It even shows like how being a super fan or just being obsessed, how it could basically kind of destroy you, and they really kind of touched on that in that music video Stan. But that's what I kept thinking about, is like that guy's he's a stan of the Mr. Incredible to the point like he knows where he's at and stuff like that. He even he has like his whole room is where his worship, where he goes to worship Mr. Incredible, and it just does a good job setting up what happens later on. So I guess when the twist does come, it makes sense. Like how you were saying, everything that happened in the movie makes sense later on.
Is it really a twist though? Like, I don't know. I guess
more of a reveal than a twist.
Yeah, I'd say more of a reveal. But yeah, to go back to like the initial, because we first see him in the tree scene. He gets introduced there, but then like we really get into him interfering with the combat between Mr. Incredible and Bon Voyage at the building. And like, yeah, to your point, Bon Voyage like just comes out like your first introduction to him is just that wall blowing up and just, like, coming out with the bags, and he's got like all the bombs across the chest, and he's just looking fly as fuck.
He's the bomb. Now.
That's
I can't with you.
But yeah, and so like to the point that like Bob gets to later, he was kind of unnecessarily cold to Buddy in the beginning, but also like kind of to in his defense, Buddy put himself in a situation where like he got a bomb attached to his cape, and so like he has to stop the pursuit of this villain, which he would have like initially, put him behind bars right then, but now he's got to go save Buddy, who's got a bomb on his cape, and like, I don't know. That to me, it's just kind of like there's the reason why you don't follow Mr. Incredible around.
I mean,
but like, and I can't say that he like maliciously made Buddy into a villain or anything like that. It's just it was just the circumstances. I just like how personal that conflict kind of is to him, because he's like, look, like you're a kid, like stop following me, like I've been nice to you, but like you can't just like show up to these crime scenes and pretend like we're affiliated.
And it's dangerous for him too,
You're not affiliated with me. That's such a great line.
This movie has a lot of great lines, man.
I love how he stops the train. Like, it felt a little bit more realistic than some of the other train scenes that are in movies. Like, when the hero stops the train, like, it was...
How do you stop the train again?
He just jumps onto the track and just...
Spider-Man style.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, I actually forgot that.
Spider-Man style without the web.
Without the web.
And I did not expect the train victims to, like, try to sue him either. Like, that was me being, 12 years old and think, oh, that took a different turn than what I thought it would.
Man, that's kind of crazy because they, later on, I guess in comic books, they had what's it called, Civil War. In Marvel, they touch about the realistic, how superheroes kind of their actions touch the real world and stuff like that. It's funny how in this movie they did that earlier before they even did that storyline in comic books. If you think about it, like people suing and stuff like that.
Because you're so focused on like the action of the moment and like, oh, that's cool, that car got blown up. But then, like I saw a meme and it's like when you just made your last payment on your car and Superman throws it.
Oh yeah,
somebody.
Well, you're an adult with bills, so it hits different now. It's not like a kid where it's like, let's blow them all up, and you're like, do what?
My show's not gonna cover that.
But it was like, but the first like 10 minutes of the movie, what is that, 10, 15 minutes, whatever that is, it's like pretty mature. Like, I mean, it's still got that friendly superhero vibe from the 50s, but like with those kind of mature tones and vibes thrown in there that I just wasn't expecting from like a kid, but like you said, it was handled very well to where it doesn't raise like too many red flags or anything like that, but it's just, a lot of kids' introductions to some of these themes.
Yeah. And I like the momentum too. It just flowed so what just kept going. And it just keeps going. And I think it also juxtaposed after they marry how slow things become.
Oh yeah.
I guess we could touch it.
I did like the marriage scene before we go too quick, just because when they're saying their vows, that's when I was confused because I was like, oh, they know each other or whatever, like, because I didn't, when you're a kid, you don't always pick up on like the flirting or the banter or whatever. But I like how she's talking about like, you're gonna have to be more than Mr. Incredible, and like he in his mind, you think it would be harder to be the superhero to go out and save the day, but really like just living your daily life in anonymity. It's not like the Avengers where everyone like, oh, that's Tony Stark and he's like a celebrity for it, or like Thor, he's a celebrity for it. He's a prince or a king, or but like these guys, they have like their normal lives. His name is like Robert Parr. That's like literally average. Like he is like par for course,
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just thought that was interesting because I think also like a lot of people when they get married, they don't always understand like what they're getting. Like you think you do, but it's not until like you live that every day that you really get what you're getting into.
Yeah, that's true.
But and I like seeing the friends in the background too, all their superhero friends, because then that kind of gets sprinkled in later, through some of the stuff. But anyways.
Yeah, it's funny. I actually, when I was younger, I didn't even remember the marriage scene. I just remember them flirting, and next thing you know, they have kids. But yeah, like you said, the scenery was fun. You seen Frozone there, all dressed up and shit, and the superheroes still in their gear when they were getting married. Yeah, it was a funny scene.
Yeah, it was really good. And to your point too, like it happens so quick because the first sequence is like. It just doesn't stop. It shows you the hustle and bustle of like this is what it is to be a superhero in this time period, and then like go to the wedding, like just barely have time to make it to the wedding.
Yeah,
and then right after he's like, "We're superheroes. What could happen?" And then boom, lawsuit, and then all this stuff just starts piling up, and it's like superheroes got to go. And then the next thing we see, bam, is him like at his 9 to 5, looking like he's lost the will to live.
Yeah,
bro. Like it's just, it's like dang,
just depressed.
He's he's in a cubicle that's too small.
Yeah, that dude huge in that cubicle.
Well, it hurt me because like I mean I remember like being in high school or whatever. You think you're gonna conquer the world, and then like you start your 9 to 5, and you're like, man, it really saps the will out of you.
That scene actually kind of reminded me of. Have you guys seen American Beauty? Yeah, it kind of reminded me of that same guy going through that midlife crisis of just the same 9 to 5, looking for some excitement and stuff.
Well, let's talk about like the family for a second, because like right after his 9 to 5, you kind of get like a glimpse of like everyone, right? So talk about Robert. He's at the 9 to 5. He's like, you've seen him. He's fat. He's still super strong, but he's like definitely not happy doing what he's doing. And I like how each person's got like a power that kind of represents them. Like he's supposed to be like the dad, the big strong one, the protector, whatever. So he's like strong, right? And the mom, she's Elastigirl. I think Brad Bird had said like, oh, because the mom's always getting pulled in a bunch of different directions.
Oh, okay.
But like But I thought it was really fun with Violet and Dash.
Oh yeah,
and Jack and their power, especially like when they introduced Violet. Right, she's like watching what's his name, Tony Ridinger. You know, he's like walking by, pretty boy, and he turns because he thinks he sees her, and then she goes like invisible or whatever. He's like, oh, he looked at me.
I guess just her feeling invincible at that time.
Well, yeah, it's just the feeling invisible, and then you got Dash, who he's like messing with the teacher.
Yeah, that's such a great scene. Yeah. The teacher was so fucking mad in that scene. Boy, he was justified. That's messed up.
Right. Because he knew exactly what was going down. But like, so going back to the 9 to 5, like I like how he's Bob has come to a point where like he can only do his superhero stuff in secret.
Yeah.
Yes.
But he's still trying to do good, like even though he's at this like insurance company that's trying to like make sure that people aren't able to correctly file their claims to a point that the insurance will have to pay out. And so he like knows every loophole, and he's like letting them know, hey, this is how you're gonna get this claim paid out. And so like even though he's not on the scale, he's not Mr. Incredible, he's not out there like saving the world, he's saving one client at a time, if you will.
It's his way of like working within his means now, of like still trying to help people, and I like that because it shows some of that personality go through. Like he still wants to do good for people. He feels really handcuffed,
Oh yeah, I mean really he can't anymore, which sucks. But yeah, with the family, like you said, all the powers fit, and fit the characters, and I really like Violet and Dash's relationship. They seem so much like siblings. That's how they act. Just how they interact with each other. How like they was arguing and stuff like that. It just at that age too. It just seems so realistic, and it gives to the whole family vibe too.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is like aside from everybody having powers, like the family feels real.
Yes.
The conversations that they have with each other, the kids like arguing back and forth, the conversations that the Bob and Dad have with each other, the conversations between like the dad like kind of spacing out until like something goes wrong, and then he's like, oh well, wait, something went wrong, like what happened?
And the fact that he spaces out, it makes sense because they set it up like you're talking about his 9 to 5, right? He had like a really bad day at work, like he's trying to help that lady. The boss comes in and he's like, how are we going to stay in the black if you keep paying out on these insurance policies? How do these people know how to get around our bureaucracy? And he sees the guy getting mugged out there, and he's like, I got to go help him. He's like, no, you can't. And so he like, it's like all that frustration about the 9 to 5, and I've been there with the 9 to 5 frustration. I mean, I think you guys have, but like he took like his representation of that, and it's like his boss, and he just threw him through the wall, and he's fired, and like. The government agents like yelling at him. He's like, money, 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 money. We can't keep doing this, Bob. We can't keep relocating you, keeping you all together, keeping this. So he's come home. It's just a bad day. He's even like squeezed off the little knob on like his door handle.
I like that scene where that agent is talking to him about their relocation because it shows he has a history of doing stuff like this. And like even in that one like sentence, it builds a whole backstory that we didn't have to see. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. Very much like doing a lot without doing a lot. It's very, very much so like creates that backstory, and then like he even offers to relocate them like one last time, and he's like, no, we like literally just got done unpacking our last box, we can't uproot that. So it's kind of, I don't know, I think he just feels very defeated, very closed in, and so that's just even. You said that was going to happen. And it just creates the perfect environment for like when he finally receives the message that he's he's got the opportunity to go back out and do hero work again. Like, of course he's going to jump at that. He's in a place where he feels like he can't get out and he can't be who he really is supposed to be because of all this like just the mundane like average life is just kind of like swallowing him, and of course he wants like some sort of escapism, so when it comes it's just like, yes, let me do that.
He seemed like he's searching for a purpose, then once he finds that purpose he just dives in, which is him being like a superhero.
And And when we look at that dinner scene, so like, you know, he's got these frustrations or whatever. And I like how you mentioned he's like absent-minded, but he's like, he is, but he like isn't. He's like trying to find the right ways to support his kids, or he wants to support his kids in certain ways. You can tell, you know, because like the wife wants him to go to like the 5th grade graduation or whatever. He's like, this is dumb. But then when she breaks up that, hey, you know what, Dash got to the principal's office, and he's like, yeah, good. And he's like, no, he got not good, you know, because he put a tag on the teacher's chair. He's like, well, you could barely see it on the video, and he's like, you were on video and they still got away with it? How fast do you think you were going? You know, like he's, I don't know, because it brings him back to that other life too, because it's not, you could tell he's like tired of like the everyday life stuff, but like he wanted to support his kids and like their powers and what they do, you know. Like I don't know, it was a nice little touch right there.
Yeah, that was that scene just a good setup of just the whole family and touching and yeah, it's very touching, and it also like I said before, it sets up later how important his family is to him.
I related to them when everyone's like fighting and like the whole house looks like really nasty, and then all of a sudden like they hear the doorbell and they're all like fixing their hair, and, like, looking good. I don't know. Growing up in a Hispanic household, like I feel like that's very much like you know, you're fighting or you're doing stuff, or it's like you know, like you hit your brother or something like that. You just stop crying. Don't tell nobody. Look, like I told you, you know, or like mom's hit you and you're like, tell me from the stairs, you know, like because someone's like coming inside the house or whatever. I don't know if that ever happened to you guys growing up.
Happened to me a lot. Yeah, I mean, that's just part of being a kid. You know?
I think a lot of people can relate.
That's just having a childhood with siblings. You know, to me, what really like with the whole family thing was when Lucius came in and Dash got so happy. It's like seeing your favorite uncle. You know, so I relate to that a lot.
Man comes in looking like a hybrid of Samuel Jackson and Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
Well, I bet that Brad Bird probably like took influence from like Samuel Jackson and some of the scenes that he was in. You know, and even some of the outfits too.
Oh yeah. Lucius, man, that was a bad mofo.
Oh yeah, he's still smooth. Like he lost his hair.
Yeah,
but, like he's still smooth. And
got
like,
the turtleneck. Yeah. But you see, actually, guys, it leads on to, because of the mundane who wants to be a superhero, leads to Mr. Incredible, Robert and Lucius sneaking out to go do missions, and all goes awry and stuff like that. It shows like he still wants to be involved in that world, and now because of trying to stay in hiding, they look like bumbling idiots, you know, and stuff. But you want to touch on something?
Well, I like Mirage's involvement in all this. So Mirage is like the lady with the white hair, you know, the assistant. And like at the beginning, I was like, oh, I guess I wasn't sure like who she's like looking for or what exactly she's doing like the very first time I saw it. But I like how it kind of sets up, you know, some of the reveals that you see later on. Like she was really scoping out Frozone, and it just so happened that she found Mr. Incredible. I don't know. I really like that. But I love the bumblingness. He's like, I can't lay down a layer of ice thick enough. I'm like, what do you mean, you run out of water? He's like, what'd you do, run out of muscle?
Just friends interact, you know. That's funny. But so I guess you already touched on it. Like he gets sent out like on a mission to that island and stuff, and like having a purpose to go do something. Do you want to touch on that a little bit more?
If I can, there's one like technical aspect of the movie I want to touch on, because I think it's really interesting the way that they do it. Because had they done Monsters Inc. at this point?
Yeah, they did Monsters Inc.
Okay. So Monsters Inc. had a lot of like furry creatures, so a lot of hair sim going on. What was interesting to me in this movie is unless the situation calls for characters to have individual strands of hairs, and I may be wrong on this, but what it seemed like to me is that the hair for most of the characters is a static mesh that they just like move every now and then, and not actual hair sims going on unless it's called for, with the exception of
the water scene, I think.
There's certain characters who I think have hair sims going on the entire time, which would be Violet, Mirage,
Syndrome.
Syndrome. I think Syndrome is sometimes a mesh. But also Edna. And I think with Violet, her hair is really long, and so the fact that she's got the hair sim going on, like whenever there's something like off about it, it kind of pops more than everybody else. So you can see like they're still having issues with the Harrisons at that point in time. They've refined it now because they've got so many movies out with like individual strands of hair and stuff like that. But I just thought that was very interesting and a very smart move that like unless the shot calls for individual strands of hair, like just put it all in one mesh.
You know, and it didn't bother me, even the little mistakes, because like especially at the time when it came out, this was like the PS2 days. You know what I mean? So like, you remember that. So I mean, like this was like way.
Oh my god!
This was like way above most things that we were looking at.
Yeah,
you know, for the PS2 days. You know, even today, this still looks pretty good.
Oh yeah, this
for what it is, especially because they're not. And I've noticed this, like movies that try to go as realistic as they can usually don't hold up as well because graphics keep improving. But things that go stylized because they have exaggerated caricature faces and stuff, like they just make the textures look nice and the rest of it kind of holds up well. You know?
You're right. I mean, because it's more stylized, it like when I was watching it, it didn't seem dated. You know, like you said, some people have. I mentioned this. Like some people have some weird shaped heads in this movie, but it's just the style.
Well, but the style movie holds up. It's not like if I go back and try to play Madden, you know, 2006, you know, and you're like, oh, what am I looking at? This is terrible.
We're just making fun of San Andreas because San Andreas had the crap hands, and they're like, hey, CJ, it's like talking like this.
Have you ever seen the Final Fantasy 8? Like where he's like, he's the best looking dude in the room, and it shows like a pixelated face or whatever, because that's an actual line in the game. It's like, oh, he's the best looking guy in the room, but like the screenshot is a pixel face, and people like.
It's bad because like I mean you remember like games looking so good and then like you go back and it's like, man, these fools don't even have individual fingers, bro. Like, you need to go handle your business. Oh man, it's never as good as you remember. Like, never ever.
Well, with the mission, you want to touch it?
Well, so I like when he gets the mission assignment, right? Especially because it lays down the foundation for a few things in there. So first, like the technology that it uses to actually scan the room, because like all these little details always come back up later. So like you see, that's the very first time you see the scan, and it tells you, oh, there's no one else in the room, just Mr. Incredible. We're good to go. So like that comes up later. But then also, this is like the first point where it starts to like really plant those seeds of like doubt or infidelity. I mean, not that. I mean, Mr. Faithful is like lying to us. Like he wasn't being unfaithful like with another woman, per se. But it like you can start to see this is how like she becomes justified in like her thinking of like, is he cheating on me or something going on right there? Because he's being weird in the room. He's like, oh, I'm watching TV, and she's like, well, how about you come out and eat dinner? And he's like, give me a minute, you know. But I love when he starts to get deployed. Like it's got. I think you said earlier the Bond vibes.
Yeah, very James Bond, like the gadgets and stuff like that.
And I love him in his like his suit. Like it doesn't fit anymore. Like you see like the muffin top, and he's like trying to get into the
stomach just popped looking down.
He's running. He's like, it's showtime, but you see like the size. Like, It hurt. It hit a different way this time when I watched it.
Oh my god!
When like they're trying to put him in the pod, and he's like.
And
for some reason, I remember him sucking it in and him getting in that. Not them like having to force him in.
Maybe it was one of the trailers. Who knows? But yeah, that was really funny. And I also like how when he went on that mission, because you know the trailers and stuff, we see him in that red suit, but he's using that old blue suit.
Yeah, I was very surprised at that when I watched the movie the first time. I was like, "Where's the red suit coming?"
But
looking back now, like when I rewatch it, I kind of like the blue suit more now.
Yeah, I do too. Actually,
I didn't like it as a kid, but I kind of like it a little bit more as an adult. I don't know.
I also thought it made sense too because you know hasn't been a superhero in a long time, so it's not like an updated suit. He still has the old one.
But I love the Omni Droid. Like I thought it was a good. Like, it's part of Syndrome, obviously, right? But, like, the whole scene with it this time really kind of sets up a lot. Like, the way that, you know, he gets to the island, right? And, like, his whole thing, he's like, okay, shut down the robot. Try not to destroy it entirely. The longer you fight it, it learns. So he's like, do it quickly. And so when he gets down there and he, like, actually fights the robot, I love how occasionally they pull out the shots and they show like what its sensors look like or whatever, like on that kind of stylized like graph. And he's like showing it jump over the first time, and then he goes back to jump over again. Yeah, so he's like plotting that arc, and it's like beep 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 beep.
Yeah, and it smacks him out of the air.
Yeah, like you said, really good, showing like not only the battle between them, but the exactly why it's such a threat later on in the movie.
Yeah.
And just the sheer size of it. I mean, because like Mr. Incredible is not a small guy. But that Omni Droid is huge, and it's like, it works to show his strength, but two, it just shows like, man, later on when there is an upgraded version, like this thing is deadly. And if this is unleashed on people, like it's gonna create like major chaos.
But I like how you mentioned it earlier. It's just like there's not a lot of fat in this movie.
Oh,
like, all of the details, like kind of like they mean something there.
It sets up, like how you guys just mentioned, just the fact that they even mentioned that it's self-learning. That's just lets you know, okay, like as the movie goes on, as it gets getting smarter and keep doing more stuff, okay, they already established it in this scene, so it makes sense later on in this movie when it's doing all these other things. But yeah, that first mission was it was fun. It'll show how kind of cocky Mr. Incredible was. Just how ready he was to get into the action, because he thought it was going to be easy, but ended up being more tougher than it. And
I still laugh at the back scene where he gets his back cracked.
Oh yeah. Then it got stretched out, and you hear crack back in.
I mean, as we get older, some of the older people jokes like stand out more to me now.
Oh man, you guys are making me feel sad with this movie. I was just having a good time. You guys are watching this like the struggle.
No, as we're filming this right now, I've got like a vertebrae back there, like it needs to be popped, but I can't get it, bro. So it's just like So, bro, when I watch that,
stretch you out real quick.
You're like that actually sounds good right about now.
I could go for that. But yeah, no, like you said, like everything is like used again, and so it's so powerful. And then so he ends up defeating it. He goes inside of it and makes it kind of like kill itself. Which even then, is something that gets revisited later. So yeah, just like as I keep describing it, it's just like, wow, everything does keep it never stops. And then we go back into that Bond vibe of like he thinks he's gonna go have dinner with whoever's running the program, and then he does it, and he's like
watching that scene. Okay, so like the Bond-esque stuff, like in the theaters, you can't really catch it very well because the first time you watch any movie, you're kind of disoriented because there's so many details to take in, you don't get it. But I was watching it again last night, and I even had the subtitles on, and so I love how me being there, I could actually see Syndrome's silhouette that time,
I could see
and
him.
I could pick up on what he was saying. This time he's like, "Oh, we just main thing is keep it light. We want him to feel very appreciated for his services." And then he you see him peek, it's like, "Oh, he's coming," and he runs away. I couldn't really appreciate that when I was 12 in the theater the first time. But
I was gonna say the exact same thing. That's the first time I noticed he was actually in the shot too. They did a really good job with that. And going back to actually him fighting the Omni Droid, it shows that even though Mr. Incredible is super strong, it also shows that he's smart too. He's not just one of those guys that because he's the brawn, it's just kind of a goofball. It shows he thinks too. And I thought that was a good job showing he's also as strong as he is, he's also really smart. And going to the dinner scene I like the locale with the lava and everything. It just looks so cool. And is that real lava?
It's supposed to be, but I feel but their laws, but their disbelief, like Armando said, you have to suspend your disbelief on some of the stuff because he goes into the volcano and I don't think he could do that. One, because I think he'd burst into flames. But two, I also think the fumes and stuff. Usually you can't get that close and because it's poisonous gas. But it's cute, and I like the visual of it, so it's I let it pass. I mean, it's a cartoon, but I was just man, that's kind of a dangerous thing to have. If you fuck up, you're just basically dead. But I guess they established more about the what I call stakeholder. This is Syndrome before realize that Syndrome. Did they talk more about the mission, what he will be doing in that scene? Because she kept it very light, fun, flirty, but didn't really talk much about work or what they do or anything. They didn't want him to know any of that.
All right.
They just gave him a lot of money.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, I mean,
and I love that too. Whenever like I caught that too the second time when he's actually getting his assignment, he wrote down. I looked at the notes. It said like government, robot, and then he wrote big money, and he drew like dollar signs there.
I didn't even notice that.
And it was like big dollar sign.
Because they offered him like what was it, triple his current salary for just the one job. So like making that much money like all in one go, like he went out and like bought them both cars. And stuff like that. Like,
so I love that montage. By the way, like it was really good because it shows. I mean, one, it shows him getting into shape, but like like how you guys talked on the midlife crisis before. Like a lot of guys like just working out, get the testosterone going. Like you're feeling better. So he's got the money, he's got that stuff going. So he's like just. And it's affecting all aspects of his life. Like if you improve one aspect of your life, it usually bleeds over. So like he got the money, he's working out. Like you see it, like obviously it looks like his sex life with his wife is getting better. Like he's hanging out with his kids more. He's like not having to go into the work, the 9 to 5 that's draining him.
Yeah, it just shows like he actually has a purpose now. And that one. It also, like it just seemed very realistic too. And I guess it could also add. I thought it was kind of weird though, like the wife was kind of accepting like that he's just disappearing and coming back with all this much more money. But I guess they also established earlier when he lied, like he's going away for like a
he made it sound like he was getting promotions.
Yeah, promotion.
And all
Maybe
sorts
that's
of
why
stuff.
she just bought into it.
I don't promote lying to your wife on here.
You
gotta make that. But do what you gonna do.
But it also kind of adds on later on about maybe why she thought he might have been cheating. And then, speaking of you talking about cheating earlier, I like how they move. It's weird, as a kid, I never noticed that she was scared of him cheating, but they never mentioned that in the movie. Like, never outright mentioned, like, you're cheating or anything. You just infer with all the things that are set up and what she says. I thought it did a good job because that's kind of heavy-handed for a kid. But for an adult, they know.
Well, you hear it in her voice when he gets called to go back on the second trip.
Yeah.
And she walks out of the car, have a good, they're not like, they're, before, in the montage before, they were all over each other, and all of a sudden she's like, have a good day, babe.
Like,
and he's like kind of looking over, he's like, it'll be a good day,
Because that fear's trying to creep in.
And she hears the phone call.
Oh, yeah. That's
and
true.
that, I mean, it's, like you said, it's a way of saying it without saying it. So that from his point of view, he's not like cheating, but he is lying, and it's making it look bad. It's like what does it say? Don't just avoid evil, but the appearance of evil. Like it's.
Yeah. The one thing that I was this could probably easily be answered by something else was there's a scene where she picks off one of Mirage's hairs from his suit, and I was like, when were they close enough that he would have gotten her hair on his suit?
Maybe the little ball things. You remember that they almost have like the dart train looking things that go around. So they're in one of the balls, and it takes them through the island, through the facility. That's the only thing I could think of. Unless like they had one in the chairs somewhere else he was sitting at, but yeah, because
this walkthrough, I was like, there's a point at the end where he tells her like, how can I cheat on the perfect woman or something like that. But I like up until that point, I was like, maybe are they hinting that like maybe
he did cheat?
Yeah. But it must have just been like me looking too far.
I don't think they were trying to say that he cheated. At least I hope not.
I
didn't even think about that before.
But from there, where do we move on to next? I'm sorry, forget the kind of flow.
So before he actually goes, so he gets the assignment that there's going to be another mission.
Yes.
But he goes off to Edna Mode's house.
Oh yeah.
And so I guess before like the cheating. Before she actually comes out and she's like, have a good trip, they had Edna Mode scene because he went there to go get his suit fixed, right?
Yes.
So because later on, you notice when she notices the strand of hair on the suit, she also notices that it got stitched up. And I loved Edna Mode in this movie. Like, it was just, hobo suit.
She was charismatic.
Don't make me beg, darling.
She's actually voiced by the director.
Yeah, I did not know that until the last time I watched it. That's crazy. And I guess she's based on
two fashion designers. Yeah.
But yeah, she was super charismatic. She was damn, like every scene she was on, she stole, you know, because she just stood out so much.
Oh yeah, for sure. She's like one of the funnest parts of the movie.
Oh yeah, and it goes into the whole James Bond thing. You know, him going to like his Q, which is Edna Mode, again, like the gadgets, see how it works before the next mission.
I thought the characterization of the fashion designer was really well done, because I know a lot of people talk about like caricatures in a bad way, like, or like archetypes, like where it's just, oh, it's so stereotypical, it's this, but like they reduced her down to like, I guess they were, in Brad Bird's words, they kind of like reduce people down to their essence. So it was just fun that like he brings back the suit to get it fixed. He's just like, no, never look back, only forward.
Yeah,
you gotta like fix it up, you know. So it was fun that way.
Yeah, I like her. The very first thing she said to him was like, "Man, you got me fat." That's after he got back in.
I love how she doesn't recognize anybody in this movie until they have to tell her like, "Oh, I used to be, you know, so and so," because they either got fat or like life has taken over. Like she only recognizes people in the costumes as she made them.
Yeah,
like,
that was a great scene. Even
gotten fat.
Yeah, I even like how like she talks about the cape. I think we say calling back later on.
Oh, that was
like
so
the minute
fun.
montage they had, and even as a kid, I was like, that makes sense.
Well, it showed people die. Like, you were showing like he's like no capes, dying a guy, caught on a thing, like Stratogales pulled into the thing, which you know, like you said, very much gets cool. Actually, most of them get like. Kind of, and then it's like, you know, other guy gets pulled into the vortex. No capes.
No capes, yeah. And I just remember seeing that as a kid. I was like, my mind was blown. I was like, how come nobody ever told me? You know, like no capes. Like this makes sense. Boy, you're about to say something?
No, yeah, like it's again, like it's really funny, like a really dark humor, because you see all these people like getting wiped out.
Yeah,
but they do a good job of like walking that line of like, okay, how are we gonna show this without it being like too brutal for children? So again, like they knew exactly when to cut, exactly what to show and stuff like that. But it's
well, like Stratogale getting pulled into the thing. They don't show like a cloud of blood pop out the other end. You just hear the and then it cuts like real quick.
I think like you even see the expressions of the people on the plane or like whatever. They're just like.
Well, yeah, that's really funny.
The bystanders in this movie are actually kind of funny. Like they give people like nice reactions. Like even at the very beginning of the movie, when when you know he's talking to when he's fighting with Buddy and Buddy's in the back of the police car, he's like, "I'm incredible." He's like, "You're not affiliated with me." The cops are like, "Well, what happened to Bon Voyage?" "Well, he got away, but we'll get him next time." He's like, "What do you mean you're not gonna get him tonight?" Like you know, like the personality they give, like. You know, the henchmen or the cops or like the bystanders, like you said, they're like nice little details, like you know, like
even though it's like animated or cartoon movie, it makes the world seem more real, more lived in. Bro, those small touches.
One thing, like later on, I didn't even like catch until this time watching it, like the henchmen, like, every time they run, take a shot.
Yeah.
No, I didn't realize that the first time, and I didn't realize that's like one of the first like times that they actually show drinking in like an animated movie, or at least alcohol. Really? Yeah, like they don't have a lot of like. But I love these. Like, every time they run, take a shot. Everyone
That's just all the things that go over your head as a kid.
Yeah.
But so after he gets the suit, I guess you know she starts to suspect that he's cheating. You wanted to add something?
Well, yeah, you've got two storylines going on at that point. So like he goes off to go to the next mission.
Yes.
And at the same time, she's going to Edna because she's like, okay, he's got like a thing on his suit. He's got like the cut there. Like
the phone call from the woman.
But then he also she sees the stitch, so she's like, the only one that could have fixed that is Edna.
Yeah.
If he's out doing something he shouldn't be, Edna probably knows. And so they've got those two storylines going on at the same time. And I mean, they're both so impactful. One, because the Edna stuff is funny.
Oh, yeah.
But then, like, with him, like, he goes off onto the plane, and he's like, I mean, he's looking even, like, better than he did the first time.
Yes, yeah.
You see him, like, enjoying himself. And then he goes into the conference room, and the Omni droid, like, the wall opens up, the Omni droid's there, it's even bigger, it grabs him, just...
Yeah, it throws him.
And then Syndrome pops out, like, it's like the big reveal, you know, it's Buddy.
Yeah.
And that scene was done so well, in my opinion. Because, like, when they were doing the police scanner thing at the beginning, you know, Frozone, and he's like, they're reminiscing about the good old days, and Frozone's like mentioning, he's like, he starts monologuing, and he's like, Baron von Ruthless, he's got me on a platter, one more hit of his death ray and I'm done. And he starts monologuing about the world will soon be his, you know. And so right here, he's getting like Syndrome to like keep talking, you know, because he's like, Syndrome's like doing all this stuff, but he can't just kill Mr. Incredible, right? Even though the blades are going, he's about to do it. He's got to like style on him, you know. He's got to like let him know, this is me, this is what you did to me, and this is, I'm so much better than you, you know. And so I love, that's such a good touch, because it adds to his obsession too.
Yes.
Like he could have just killed him, but instead he's like, gotta let him know.
Yeah, that reveal was that's my favorite scene in the whole movie. Even the score, that score was like, it was fantastic. It even adds on to the scene, and like you said, just monologuing. So it adds some, because he even touches on like, oh, he caught me monologuing. So it adds some form of like dark comedy to like a heavy-handed scene too. And it was done amazingly.
Well, he's been planning it for so long too, and then he messes up because I'm Syndrome. It's like, great. And it's like you know, a little bit of comedy, or serious, even in a scene that's supposed to be serious.
Yeah, and so leading up to that, like we see just how comfortable Bob is, and like how accepting he is of this life, because he's so comfortable. He has like 2 mimosas on the plane leading up to there. He's like, oh yeah, I could be a little tipsy showing up. Like, like he's just he's so ready to get back to that life that he's just like, whatever's gonna like happen. And so like when he gets the rug pulled out from under his feet, and like, this has all been a ruse, this has all been to you know, so I can create something that can defeat even you. Like, it's just that much more impactful because he was so ready to get back to this life. And it was just, you know, he was enjoying all of it. And then this whole
ruse was for him specifically too, because like Syndrome, he says it here, but you don't quite get the gravity of it. But he's like, everything has been for you. Like, I went through quite a few supers getting this ready for you.
And I think that scene also does a good job of like Syndrome, where his mind went. Like, his obsession has, now his memory's kind of skewed, or the way he remembered things. And because of that, he just took all his energy, you know, still obsessed about this guy, but now wants to defeat him. And it does a good job just establishing all that. Instead of, I mean, they have like a little bit of a flashback to show how he reacted in the beginning, but you didn't see like his whole backstory and everything like that, you know. And even with the monologue, and it makes sense because, like you said, it's a personal vendetta. So it explains why he would not kill him, and talk to him like, hey, this is what I've been doing this whole time. And I also like when he throws him to the waterfall, and you know, Mr. Incredible goes into that cave, and I like how Syndrome has like a scanner to come and he throws in a bomb first, and he still has a scanner to check. And I really like that, because in James Bond movies, how often do we see the guy like, okay, he's gonna die, I'm just gonna, you know, just go chill and go somewhere else. Then James Bond escapes like, oh, how did you escape? Like, well, if you were there, motherfucker, you know, you could have stopped it. You know, so like, even though Syndrome couldn't go check the cave to see whether he was dead or not, he still did like one last round to check to make sure.
And then it was a callback to the scanner.
The scanner.
And that, to your point, like that's one of the big things with like James Bond. Like even the Austin Powers movies, like he's like, hey, don't you want to stay in the room and make sure he actually dies?
Yeah.
Like, no, they'll get him.
Well, it was cool because it showed a couple things, I think there. Like one, like Bob was smarter than like everyone thought. Like he was trying to get him monologuing, and then he like escapes and he hides behind the bones of Gazer Beam. And it makes sense that Gazer Beam's there because you see it said Chronos, and you're like, what is that? But like at the beginning of the movie, like you're saying, like when he's like, oh, Gazer Beam went missing. You know, and then he says, yeah, I went through quite a few supers getting this ready for you, and you haven't quite like put it together. Be like, oh my gosh, like he grabbed this dude. And so like, I love, it's like everything from the first visit and from the other part of the movie, it's like starting to kind of fit together. You know, so
fleshed out.
And when he goes back to go, like you revisit some of the scenes in the lair, like he's going back through, but instead of being the invited guest this time, he's like, he figures out where he's got to go, but he knows from like seeing the lava thing and that opening, he's like, okay, that's probably where I like need to go. I don't know, like I really liked that. But while he's doing that, it goes back to Edna mode and the mom, and that's like one of the best scenes in the movie. I guess Edna steals the show.
Oh yeah,
she's on camera.
Real quick, going back to at the Gazer Beam reveal, I really like. Maybe this is me adding my own backstory, but it also shows that Gazer Beam was most likely going through the same thing he was, like, you know, tired of the normal life. Maybe that's why he went over there to go try to do all this stuff, because okay, at least I get to be a superhero and do the stuff I used to here. And it does that all by showing, like, establishing he was missing and showing like his dead body, and you could just kind of add on that own backstory yourself without having to like show his, you know, side of the story and everything.
Yeah.
And but yeah, then I guess we go. You want to touch on anything before?
I imagine being an attorney is probably exhausting.
Oh, being an attorney?
I think between them and Dennis, don't they have like the highest suicide rates?
I don't know. I would imagine so. But yeah, what's interesting is that he himself is a super, yet he's an attorney for like superhero rights.
Yeah.
It's like it's I don't know. That was just interesting.
Oh yeah, I didn't even realize that. Yeah, actually.
Boy, that's what it says on the newspaper.
Yeah.
But yeah, you start talking about the Edna. And
so yeah, she goes back, and you know, I love how she calls it, and she's like, Edna, this is Helen. Who?
Yeah.
I'll ask her, go, oh, darling.
Yeah.
Oh, come by. You like the suit I made for what? No, Bob's suit. Yeah, I made it for you. Come by.
Yeah.
You know, she goes in there, you know, and of course you love like when they're going down the stairs and like the gun comes out because Edna's like super extra getting into her place. It's like Edna mode and guest.
Yeah.
But the showcase when she's actually showing off the suits, because everything she shows on there, it's like, it's all foreshadowing.
Yes,
right? So she shows the baby, and she's like, "Oh, I made a suit that can withstand, 1,000 degrees." And she's like, "What do you think the baby's gonna be doing?" She's like, "Well, I don't know." And then like her suit's getting blown up. She's like, "Your suit's indestructible." It gets blown up by rockets. And then they show Violet's. Oh, look, it can go invisible with her. And it was fun because it was like they show off the suits, but then it makes sense with what they're doing later, like entirely.
Yeah, it's a really good scene. And just the whole James Bond thing too, like Hugh, like, hey, here are your gadgets, James Bond, before your next mission.
Oh yeah, very much so. Because he was heavily influenced. The director was by a lot of that. That was so. A lot of things in the movie are kind of like paying homage to
like the spy.
The whole genre, because that's something that
even the style of their masks, because they're not like it's.
I always thought this was kind of goofy with Robin too. Like when put on your mask, like you can still see 90% of your face.
What movie was it? The Green Lantern movie where they made fun of it, when Blake Lively's character's like, "Hal, is that you?" He's like, "But I'm wearing my mask." She's like, "Yeah, but I've seen you naked. You don't think I can tell you having up your cheekbones?"
Yeah.
You say that, but like, could you point out Tony Hawk if he wasn't carrying a skateboard? You know what I mean?
Tony Hawk. That's different. He's just a regular ass looking dude. But so I guess then Dash and Violet, they also realize that the mom is about to go away to go look for Bob.
Well, right before then, she's because she realized that she got the suit. So as Bob is sneaking in, right? And maybe we'll touch back on Bob because these storylines like collide.
Yeah.
So. She's starting to cry because she's like, "Oh my god, like Bob's been lying to me. This is what's going on." And so Edna's like, she doesn't want to be that crying shoulder. You can tell she's whatever. But she's giving her the tissues or whatever. But she gives him this thing. She's like, "Look, these are GPS tracked. Do you know where he is?
Oh yeah.
Do you want to know where he is?" And so as that's going on, Bob is sneaking into the lair, and I love how Bond-esque and cool it is. But I love the computer scene, because I was actually watching on streaming. I paused it, so I love how it shows. It goes through a montage of like different supers on the left, and then on the right, it's showing the bot and it's improving. It shows like version 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, 3.4.0, and it's getting better, and it's showing defeated. Oh, this super defeated that.
Yeah.
Did y'all stop at this time to like look at those?
No, sorry. Go on.
I didn't stop, but just the gravity of how evil that was, just kind of hit me more this watch through.
Yeah.
And I was like, Jesus, like he killed a lot of people to get this ready. And it's just crazy that like they've created a movie, like when you really stop and think about it, within this movie, like whether it be referring back to something that happened outside, like off camera, or it being on camera, there's a lot of death.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And it doesn't really shy away from that, but it kind of like it plays into it in such a way that it's like the focus is as much as you want it to be. So if you're somewhat like if you're a kid, like it kind of just flies over your head. But like if you are like an adult sitting there watching that, like the gravity of that is like, wow, he really like this guy is
in.
Yeah.
Well, and I was surprised. Okay, and I like because I always thought of you like, wow, he killed a lot of people. But this time I was curious. I was like, I wanted to see more about him, and so I stopped him. So he like gave him power levels. And then so he said, or he called it threat level. So on a scale of 1 to 10, like how dangerous is? So like 1 is like the average man, right? And so like the very first two, the first one is like, oh, he controls atomic density. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, it was like 2 point whatever, killed him. Second lady though, she still died to the 1.0, and it said powers telepathy. He gave her a 3.6, and it said telepathy and telekinesis. I was like, telekinesis, and she only a 3, and she got like murked by this first bot. Like I was like, look, like she only lifted like 10, 20 pounds. I was like, you know, because that's usually like a pretty strong like power that's like up there. But then they had like people shooting fire at 5 or like the Rocket Man at like 7, and then Bob's all the way at 9 or whatever. But I was just like, it was just surprising to me that, you know, the strong man is like.
You don't think atomic density would be a higher threat level?
Well, yeah. Well, that was the thing. He was at the bottom of the list. The atomic density guy was like he was at a 2.3 for threat out of 10, and the telekinesis girl was at 3, and they had like people that shot fire at like 5s, and I was like, what? I was like, what? This all seems backwards, don't it?
Right.
Like,
I was gonna say also.
I mean, I guess against a robot, you know, maybe telepathy's not useful, but like still telekinesis, you'd think would be useful against everything, right? Because
well, 2 things from that. Like 1, it shows like just the little details they add. Like they didn't have to add all that stuff. And 2, going to like since you paused, the ones that defeated the robots at first, what level were they?
The first one was like a guy at 5. He was like a human rocket type thing, like he could launch himself. And then like they had people at like 7. I think Gazer Beam. No, I don't know if Gazer Beam defeated him.
I think he did. Well, actually,
but it set it up because you realize that it's like, you know, he's looking through the computer. He's like, they couldn't find his wife like last year, obviously because she married. Yeah. Like she changed her name. She married Robert. So he's like, like he literally like wipes his brow, or whatever. He types in Frozone, and you realize that like at the beginning, Mirage was scoping out Frozone. Like that would have been his friend going to the island and getting murked if.
Oh yeah, if he didn't find him instead. Yeah, that's crazy. And it also shows how obsessed I think what's his name Buddy is about Mr. Incredible, that he's married to Elastigirl, but he's so focused on like Mr. Incredible, he doesn't even do research to figure out whether that's Elastigirl or anything. He has his target now. But yeah, that was a very heavy scene, and the score was just fantastic throughout that whole scene.
I did pause it on the computer when he's scrolling through the computer, and you know, like I did IT work for a little bit, so like I appreciated how like simple the UI was, where it just said all it was island stuff, like finances.
Oh yeah.
Plans for the thing, and then it said like soups we killed or something like that. It was just a very like simple. I was like, I like this man. He's like very.
Yeah, porn photo. Just said porn. It just said porn right there.
Just like very simple. Yeah, I like this.
I think to your point, it's a good thing that like Lucius didn't get pulled to the island, because as we see later, like
this stuff didn't do anything.
His powers don't do much against it. And so yeah, if he would have went, like he would have got murdered.
Yeah, and of Lucius. But so I guess that's when the movie starts, you know, getting somewhat heavier, and now the family's on the way to the island itself, and it goes to my second favorite scene, the airplane scene. Yeah, that scene was done so well. Like the momentum, like the pacing of it, like just it's heightened in danger. And the music, the cue keeps going higher, and you know she demands more for her daughter to keep them safe.
Well, you've got Bob over there who's getting interrogated, right? Because like the homing beacon went out of his suit, like so that's how she's able to track him. But he's like, "Who did you contact?" Yeah, and so he's like, "Fine, we'll send him a present." And like he doesn't realize until he hears her voice that it's like, "Oh, my wife is piloting this plane," and you see that desperation in there. So like we're like, "Is that plane gonna blow up?" And then you know. like when she's like, Violet, put something around the plane.
Yeah,
and she's
yeah.
like, I can't. And like when that, I don't know. It spoke to me like when I was a kid, I was like, Violet, why couldn't you just put something around that plane? But like being an adult now, I'm like, you know, when you feel the pressures that like your parents put on you to like try to like perform, or you've even seen that with some of your friends, and the kid cracks, and they're like, you just, I don't know, to me it like very relates.
Also, I think Violet's never been, we don't even know she could do that, like that big at that point. So it's like asking a lot for her in this situation. And it was a great scene. And it's crazy too, because like Bob could hear all that going on, like the family just, you know, scrambling and stuff like that. You want to touch on?
So it brought it up in the YouTube video that Alex had sent me, but it was originally meant to be played out another way. The friend that she calls up to
Snug.
get the plane from, Snug, he was actually supposed to be piloting the plane.
Okay.
And then the family was supposed to get out, but he was supposed to die in the crash. Okay. And so that's there's remnants of it still when the plane is kind of like going down deep in the water, and Mrs. Incredible is like looking down at the plane and like watching it drop. That's actually supposed to be like, you know, her taking in that Snug.
Oh, it didn't make it?
Didn't make it.
Okay.
But I think it plays out a lot better the way that it came out in the movie. Because it really gives you that sense of like it's all on her, and you know, as she's always got the responsibility of being the kid's mother.
Yeah.
But in that moment of just being like that sheer panic of just like, how do I get my kids out of this? And we get to be in that moment with her, and I think that works way better than if it had been, you know, some other pilot.
Yeah.
Because she's not passive in that moment. She is the active, like.
It's a really good moment. And then so we see and even like we hear over the radio that like there's kids on board, which we know as the viewer, but then like that's Bob getting the news that his kids are on board, and he just like, it just goes up more. Not that, you know, he didn't care about his wife. Obviously he does. And he was panicking that his wife was on board. But then it just hits like a new level of terror for him when he realizes that like his kids are also on board. Like his whole life basically is on board that and about to be destroyed. And to just show off just how evil Syndrome is, like he's very like, oh yes, this is great, this is glorious. It's just I don't know, it's emotionally just like I don't know, it's a lot. It's a lot of
well, and when the plane goes down, so like the mom obviously handles it well. Like she goes, protects the kids, she grabs them, does the parachute or whatever, she's calming them down. And at the same time, you go back to Bob, and Bob, like, he's like broken, and you're wondering, like, he's gonna try to grab Syndrome, and Mirage pushes Syndrome out of the way, and then he threatens to kill her if he doesn't get released, you know. And you're like, man, he's a broken man. Like, is he actually gonna do it or not? And of course, Syndrome calls the bluff, but like, Mirage doesn't like that.
Oh yeah.
But it was, I don't know, like that scene was just so much darker than I expected it would be in like a children's movie growing up, you know.
Is it because he's threatened to kill somebody?
Yeah, well, like, well, at that point, you know, he's been the golden age type superhero, you know, like, so I don't know. It was really well done, but it also, you can see that that's the first time it puts a wedge between Mirage and Syndrome. Yeah. And maybe, I don't know, because I guess maybe she didn't feel bad about them killing people before. I don't know, but this time she actually like realizes maybe Syndrome isn't really into me, because I didn't catch it maybe until this time, but it looks like her and Syndrome are actually like involved, like in a romantic relationship. I didn't catch it like the first couple times when I watched it, because, you know, as a kid you don't always pick up on like but, you know, he kills over to her later in the movie. It looks like he's maybe going to try to kiss her on the neck or something like that.
Yeah,
she's like,
no, next time, you know, risk your own life next time.
Yeah.
It's so much like the Stan music video, man. But that was a heavy scene. I also like how after, you know, the the plane gets bombed, it shows how they innovative they are with their superhero. I mean, their powers, because it's like the mom kind of.
I laugh at that.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter how many times I see that scene. Yeah. The mom's the boat.
Just and like Dash is like the engine, or was it the rudder?
Yeah, Violet's just sitting, just doing her best, just sitting.
And I thought that was just a fantastic scene, just showing like their powers and how they could use it. And I also like how when they finally got to the beach, it shows like they've been doing that for hours because they were exhausted, you know. And I thought that was really good to just show the weights and how it covers, like, without showing them traveling the whole time. It just tells you because they're so tired, they've been traveling for, and it's nighttime too. Like they've been doing this for a while.
And also to that point, like just the whole sequence of like right after the plane crashes just goes to prove how smart she is.
Yeah.
Like she just immediately pieces it together. Like she knows, okay, those are short range missiles.
Yeah.
We're gonna follow the smoke trail that way. Like it just like really highlights that, you know, she's really holding her own, and like she wasn't like calling a bluff like when it's like, oh, we're gonna leave the saving the world, and man, I'm out here to like represent the women. It's not like she was like someone. She was a strong person out there, very at the top of her game, very competent. Like, and just I don't know.
And going a little deeper on that point. So not only were they competent superheroes, but they are competent parents and people.
Oh yeah,
right. So like obviously like Bob lets some stuff slip, right? Because he's still a human, right? Like you know, he's like he obviously he'd put on weight. He wasn't always like mentally present with his kids, right? But they're still good parents. And so like if you look at that time, so this was like 2004, but like starting from like the early 90s, you had like a lot of shows and all that stuff always showed mom is smart, but like dad is like really dumb. Like you look at it started with the Simpsons, and then like, you know, it's carried over to like, you know, like Modern Family, Rick and Morty, all this stuff. So like I just like how it paints both of the parents as like they're both really intelligent like people. I don't know if that, I don't know. I always thought that was like a nice, like they are a good family. You know what I mean? It's not just like neglectful dumb parents or whatever. Like it was just.
Yeah, I mean, even right after the plane crash, she was kind of like telling them not to panic and stuff, to calm them down and stuff. So yeah, we're dead,
we're alive, but we're dead.
Dash, man. He was another memorable thing about this movie. Dash was he was so charismatic, and we get. I love how later in the movie Dash gets his own moment, his own action scene, and that was a great scene. But you guys want to touch on that?
We'll touch on that later.
Yeah,
because that one. I have so many like views after seeing like, you know, you see like X-Men or like a lot of the movies with the speedsters, but we'll touch on that.
Positive or negative? Well, I guess
positive for this movie.
Okay. But so anything you guys want to touch? I guess before that, what
did he kill people when he was sneaking? Okay, so I just thought about this because we're about to talk about her sneaking on to the facility, right? But like when he snuck in the first time, you know, Mr. Bob, you know, because after. He hid himself from the, you know, behind Gazer Beam and stuff at night. Like, did he kill those guards? Because, like, for the first one, he threw, like, his pod, you know, the little train pod, and it landed on him. Second, like, he hit that guy that was on the second floor with a rock, and the guy fell. Like, were those guys dead? I mean, do you think he, like...
it's the Batman
It's
rule.
up in the air, but I don't know. Like
if I'm not there to see him die, I didn't kill him. That's the Batman rule. That's the Batman rule.
That's pretty much how they play it. I think like, the ones that are obvious you can attribute to their kill count, which I think in this movie is like, what, like 26?
Oh, damn.
They killed like 26 people as a family or something like that?
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
As a family. How much they do individually?
who did they kill as a family?
Oh, say what?
Who did they kill as a family?
Just like all the
like everybody together.
Yeah, the henchmen and stuff like that. If you account for like all of the crashes and everything, I think it's like 26 people.
Well, when the henchmen crashed like their own planes or whatever, I'm like, okay, well they didn't kill it per se. Like they.
Oh no, they're dead. They're dead because it blows up.
No, they're dead. But do I blame Dash? Like if two planes are going at him and he like dodges, do I blame him for killing him? Like no, like he defends. But like with Robert like throwing the rocket like. Murder the dude from the second floor. I'm like, maybe he killed that guy.
But causality. These people know how to fly these things, right?
What's the difference between Peter Parker? Like,
okay. These people know how to fly these things on a regular basis. Are they going to crash them into each other? No, that was Dash outmaneuvering them. He killed them.
Well, but like if you go back to Spider-Man 1, the Raimi one, right? When like Green Goblin's right there, and he's got the glider, and he like goes it to like spear Peter in the back, but Peter jumps out of the way. Did he like? Did Peter kill him, or was it Godspeed? I mean, because that's what I feel like it is with Dash. Like he outmaneuvered him, but it wasn't like specifically to get them to crash. It was like he doesn't want to like.
He doesn't want to die.
Yeah, he doesn't want to die. Yeah, so I don't. I feel like it was just different with Robert. With like literally crushing these people. I was like, oh, this is a.
Yeah, I mean. I just chuck up to a Batman.
But if we want to bring it back lighter, I love when she's sneaking in and she is super creative with her powers. But also, like that fight scene was so interesting because it's put in 3 parts. Like her leg is stuck in one elevator, her body's stuck across. You can tell like she's frustrated too. Like if she gets caught, she's like, oh man.
Yeah.
And when she was on the way in, like I love how she sees her butt like in the mirror. Yeah. And she sees how she's gotten bigger, and she's like. Oh. Yeah. Which is funny because like nowadays I feel like
what you signed for, girl? But
I guess the preferences were different because she's like, you know,
just shows the time, I guess. So, but yeah, like you said, the way she snuck in is like, you know, kind of just James, you know, spy-ish, you know, kind of James Bond-esque or. I thought about Splinter Cell, the video game, and I thought that was really funny too. And then I guess as that's happening, Dash is kind of roaming around the volcano, the hideouts. Yes. And luckily he kind of ventured out because he was able to save their life before the rocket takes off. Also in that scene, is that when Syndrome is discussing like his major plan, or is that afterwards? I'm kind of forgetting. I think that's afterwards.
So it all kind of goes on at the same time because they have the different storylines going on. So like at that time, he's showing Mr. Incredible that like he's gonna become like the hero. He's gonna he made this robot so he could kill everybody. He's gonna send it over through a rocket into the city, let it destroy a bunch of stuff, and then he using his remote control is gonna stop it so that he can be
he could be
the hero.
The hero, yeah.
One thing that I don't want to like skim over because I think it's a really important part. Going back to your point about them being competent parents, before Mrs. Incredible takes off to go sneak in, one of the things that she makes sure to do is to have a conversation with Violet about her expecting her to put the force field around the plane, because I mean it would be easy for you as a parent to just be like, oh, we were in a panic, so like I don't really need to apologize for that, and then just walk off. But she makes sure that she knows like, hey, that was really unfair of me to ask that of you, and you know, as your parent, I want to say I'm sorry for setting an expectation that was not realistic. You've never been in this situation before.
And they've always discouraged them from using their powers.
Yeah,
right. And she's like, this is the moment where like, you know, whatever you've got in the tank, like bring it out because these people are not going to stop at anything.
The way she talked to them too, she said, you know those Saturday morning cartoons, they're not like that. They will kill you.
Yeah.
And like I was like, it was such a way to sit your child down and talk. You know what I mean? Because like you said, Armando, like this movie hints at stuff that were like, these could be introductory talks to your children about these things. Like maybe you don't want to have the full suicide talk yet, or maybe you don't want to have the full bad guy or what is the gun thing yet, but like it's an introductory when the kids are like, oh, like they mean business, you know.
I like how she tells Dash, you know, you can run as fast as you can. It's like, as fast as I can. But so what happens? I guess after she sneaks in, I'm just kind of forgetting.
That whole.
Well, she uses her butt to like kill him.
Oh yeah.
Well, and I love how she punches the guy like she can't see him, but she.
Oh yeah, feeling his face. Yeah.
That was great.
But you have a couple things going on at the same time, like Mirage. Like gets mad at Syndrome. She's like, gamble with your own life. You know, so you can see that she's already like distancing. Helen sees the rocket take off. Bob learns about the plan, and then the parents. She sneaks in and she finds Mirage freeing Bob.
Yeah,
you know, at that point, and she sees them hugging because he finds out his wife and kids are alive, and so she's like, I knew it. You were cheating on me.
I like how he just drags. It's very romantic how he drags her and gives her a kiss, you know?
I know, right? Like he's like really
yeah, it's very romantic. And also that scene, because, you know, it finally got confirmation, you know, like he's not cheating on her and stuff like that. But even as a kid, they never specifically said that was her worry. But as an adult, now you can infer, it's like, oh, this whole time, she thought he was cheating, you know? As a kid, I never got that plot line at all. Anything you want to touch on?
Oh no, I like how just like her first reaction when she walks in the room and like sees the pug and is just like knock that fool out.
Oh yeah, she just like straight. She starched her. She just like her body went limp and like hard and just like all.
I was like no question. She doesn't even wait for like an explanation. She's just like, wow.
Man, Marash has been through a lot, man.
She really has.
With those people, man. Her life on the line and just gets knocked out.
But I'm like, who's really gonna ask the question of like, hey, what's going on here? You know what I'm saying? So like, it made that moment more real for me because I'm like, yeah, that's. Like if my woman walked in, I was hugging on somebody. Like that's exactly how that would go down. But yeah, no. And then like kissing up to her, like making sure that she knows that that he's only got love for her in that respect, as far as like a partner goes, and like he's not off. Like maybe he was lying about what he was going off and doing, and he realizes how wrong that was. But then like making sure that. She doesn't feel any lesser as far as like a partner, in the sense that I thought that was really good. Again, it goes back to the fact that they're both very competent, like in the roles that they play, people, parents, superheroes, and then even to the fact of like being good partners to each other. Which I think was really good. Well, aside from the lying about him going off, but
Now I love when they go back to Violet and Dash. This is one of the most entertaining scenes in the whole movie. And so for me, one, it's because they're looking out for each other, right? And she's like run. He's like, where? Anywhere. But they're looking out for each other because at that point, like she goes invisible. She's like, Dash, run. And then that whole chase sequence.
Oh my god.
So I have such a problem, and it started in 2014 when they came out with X-Men Days of Future Past. I did like X-Men Days of Future Past like a lot. Like a lot. And the Quicksilver scene was cool. It was one of the first ones where like, he's running and it's slow-mo and he's like, and they use it for comedic effect. He goes around everything. But now in like almost every single like speedster show, movie, anything, like they do those scenes like all the time. Yeah. And I feel like it doesn't really showcase what it means to be like fast. It's more like it just showcases what it means if everyone else is slow. It takes away from it. But when Dash runs, you see and I love the cinematography in here because what he does is he does these like shots where they're like fixed camera shots because that's why I love Daredevil the show so much. When he's doing like the hallway fight, it moves, but when the camera moves, most of the time it's either in the same spot, or if it does move, it moves smooth and slow. Because like I think that a lot of movies and they use the shaky cam too much. Like I don't mind shaky cam if it's like horror a little bit and you're disoriented or someone's drugged, like you need that. But like in most fight scenes, most stuff, they use the shaky cam to cover up for poor choreography. So because I've seen a movie, it was like an old Chris Tucker movie where he's like fighting someone in like an engine room or something like that, and you see him and the camera's shaking all over the place, and someone took the video and they like did some digital stuff, so like the middle of the thing is like stay there and you just see the edges moving on the other side, and the choreography was so bad. He's like and so I just like those wide I like the wide shots or the fixed shots and the quick editing between different angles. I don't mind the quick angles, but each camera angle is fixed, and so it lets you actually catch what's going on, which I thought was really nice, especially when he goes the guy punches him and he goes the other way, he goes
going to your for me, like when it comes to like cinematography and the shots in action movies, to me that's a big thing because I grew up watching martial arts movies. And you're right, because I think after The Bourne Ultimatum, I blame that, because after that came out and did kind of I guess Hollywood's like, I guess people are into shaky cam now. Because if you watch that movie, there's a fight scene there, like you can't see what the hell is going on.
Oh, the bathroom one?
Yeah, the bathroom,
like he's like, I'm like, what? I'm like, it looks like what's cool is going on, but I can't really tell.
But for some reason, that was really popular. And that movie did so well.
The old Bruce Lee movies, like it's just fixed. And he's like
shots,
fighting.
Like Jackie Chan, he made it a big thing to be wide shot. And around that time too, martial arts movies, they weren't as popular in America, but it's still kind of the fallout, the 90s era of Jackie Chan movies, like Rush Hour and stuff. So that's why they still have wider shots for those older movies. Then post like 07, that's where you see these shaky cam. Thank God John Wick came out, because John Wick kind of took it back to like a wider shot and seeing better choreography.
Yeah.
But that scene with Dash, it was amazing. I remember this as a kid. As a kid, that scene blew my mind. And because just him running real fast, and it's a kid.
And you didn't expect to run on water either.
That scene when he's about to run and the water, when he ran on the water, everybody in the theater cheered because he's happy, like, oh, I can run on water, and it was so cool too. Like, yeah, you could do it, you could do it, Dash, and and it was just like cool seeing him as a kid realizing he could do that, and how the action scene just flows too, and it just goes to another level. Of like the he had a really good memorable like moment in the whole movie. And you want to touch on?
Oh yeah, no, I think that was a great moment because like kind of like we have already touched on before, like he's never been given the opportunity to just like go for it. Whatever you can do, like find out like right now. And this is like the moment because whatever stops they have to pull out, they need to, because these are kids that have never been in like a superhero situation before. Yeah. And all of a sudden they're just kind of thrust into it. And so he's like running at the water, and then like all of a sudden like you kind of see him like squint his eyes because he doesn't know for sure, but he's gonna try it anyway. And then all of a sudden like he's like, I'm doing it. And like that was such a great moment. We also do kind of see it comes in more when they start fighting together as a family. But we see that like he's still a kid. And so like he's super fast, and so like he's able to like dodge all the punches. When he actually lands punches of his own, they don't do much.
Well, it shocks the guys because they're like kind of shocked that he was able to hit them, but they're not. But they're more like, once the shock wears off, they're just more pissed off. They're not like actually like they're not like rocked. It's just more like, he hit me. Wait,
it's annoying me. It's annoying. More than anything. Then I guess it kind of circles back to Violet, and we see her like showcasing her powers and them working together. And
the hamster ball.
The hamster ball, the hamster ball, and they run over their parents. And when the next scene comes, and I think you want to touch on that too, with like other superhero movies, when it shows all of them fighting together, I was like, dude, we've had 3 Fantastic Four movies. And they couldn't do this,
well, so that's actually a thing. So this movie came out. So I love how early this movie came out, right? Because it came out before the superhero craze. And it did it better than most superhero movies. In my opinion, it's definitely done it better than most, if not all, superhero movies. And it came out a year before Fantastic Four came out. And so this movie was what Fantastic Four should have been. Right? And so it came out, and they actually had to go back and try to rework the Fantastic Four movies because this scene had a lot of stuff that they wanted to try to do in Fantastic Four. But it wouldn't have been as good if they had
for sure.
But like they had to rework it because they were like, oh, they did a lot of stuff that we were going to do, but better.
I mean, you should take more liberty because it's animated.
Well, and I love the way when they're fighting too, like it actually. Like, it showcases the parents are competent, too. Like, this is the first time that the kids actually get to see their mom and dad, like, in action. And the dad, like, they were running from these things the whole time. And dad and mom just, like, snag him out of the air and just, like, take him out. And I was like, oh, that's cool.
But speaking of the whole Fantastic Four thing, like if somebody wants to watch a Fantastic Four movie, I'm like, nah, fuck that. Let's just watch The Incredibles. Because that does a better job.
Because it does everything, but the family drama, the powers, the shot, like, it is a better version of the Fantastic Four.
You want to touch on it?
Yeah, I think you kind of touched on it, but it's like, to be fair to Fantastic Four, this had a lot of liberties because it
animated.
Animated. Do more animation.
There are so much more things you can do, and there are limitations to it as well. So like obviously like when you're on a set, you have to like kind of fix the camera angles to a way that like you don't see that like the punch actually landed and stuff like that. With animation, you can actually like show that hit. You have to be careful of like clipping through the objects. But as long as the actual meshes aren't clipping, you can basically that fist can get as close as it wants.
Right. It's kind of like comparing Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse versus like any of the live action. But what I would say is like this nails the drama aspect too in the screenplay because like there was so much like fat nonsense in those like Fantastic Four movies, like a bunch of like one-liners and gags that like don't hold up today and stuff like that. But like
this is timeless.
I think it was still early superhero though, because like
it was done by Fox, and Fox really didn't know what they were doing with like the superhero stuff.
Well, I don't think a lot of people knew what superhero stuff was going to be. I think like Spider-Man might have been like the first, because it came out
X-Men.
before, huh?
X-Men before.
Well, Spider-Man was the first, like, well, X-Men was 2001, Spider-Man
was 2002.
2002, and then Fantastic Four came out 2005.
Yeah.
But like X-Men, Fantastic Four, those were all done by Fox, and so Fox didn't really know what they were doing. They did the old Daredevil one too.
Yeah.
And then, Universal.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then Universal did the 2004 Hulk movie.
Oh,
but then Sony did all the Spider-Man ones, and then Disney Marvel did all of the what we know as the MCU. So before then, it was like Fox doing a bunch of goofy movies.
Yeah.
Like X2 and 3 were not good movies. I don't care what nobody says.
I like X2, X3. I agree with you. But we're also forgetting about New Line Cinema with Blade. Because Blade was the forgotten one. Yeah, that one. And that, I don't even consider that as a superhero movie. That's just kind of like...
But before then, like, if you look at it, like, what they have to go off of, like, Michael Keaton Batman.
Yeah,
the Joe Schumacher Batman with, the Riddler and stuff. So they were all very campy up until that point. So the Incredibles made... Even though, like you said, like the people are stylized, for some reason, the world that they were in felt real from the way that they acted. Even though,
like you said, like how you guys said, like different characters, those like villains had like lines and stuff. So the world felt more lived in, even for an animated movie. It feels fleshed out. And but yeah, it's just, I guess, from this movie, I guess we could talk about later on how the superhero movie just kind of blew up. But yeah, that's where we get the infamous "they get busy" line when comes in. And as a kid, that didn't make sense to me at all. But as an adult, it was hilarious.
As a side note, I really like Syndrome's powers in this movie because, like, a good villain, what makes a good villain is that the villain is able to neutralize the protagonist's like powers or strengths, right? It's like if you look at like The Dark Knight with Batman and Joker, right? Joker, like, with that line when he's like, "Oh, you think I would risk the soul of Gotham in a fist fight over you?" Like, he knows, like, toe to toe. So what does he do? He plays to his strength, which is like his mind, right? Like, how can he take Batman's strength out of the equation and make it about like people and their choices and stuff like that? And so like this one, like Syndrome's, especially that 0 point energy, like Bob has all the strength in the world, but he just kind of points. And Bob can't move. I don't know. It's between that and the robot. It was just a fun thing for me. It was like this natural foil to Bob. I don't know.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, it's a good foil, like you said. Oh, you want to touch on anything with?
Syndrome? I think that Syndrome is is a really good villain. He's not the perfect villain.
No.
Because I think if he would have spent a little more time, like, it's a fault that he has, that he's so focused on Mr. Incredible and the past, and that's such a driving force behind everything that he does, that he's like creating all of these weapons and gadgets and stuff to like try to neutralize him, and then also kind of as a side note, he learns how to neutralize other supers in the process, but that's not his focus. And so a blind spot that he has is Violet. He doesn't account for Violet being able to do her force fields. If he would have done a little more research on Bob, would have like looked into his family a little harder, he would have found this out. But that's just his one flaw, is that he's been so focused on Mr. Incredible the whole time that he. So not to say he's a bad villain. He's definitely a good one.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the flaws make sense in there. You know what I mean?
I was also going to say, like, that even shows in the robot's building the self-learning. It shows that even backstars too.
He clearly didn't think of that all the way through.
He's so focused on like getting Mr. Incredible and stuff like that. But yeah, to me, the fact that it shows his flaws makes him more memorable, and it just makes sense in how he's been built out throughout the whole movie.
I've thought about it. Like, there are a lot of movies where you try to go back and like watch them, and you don't remember people's like names.
Yeah,
because like nothing was memorable. But like I feel like just about everyone in this movie like are memorable. Like you remember Syndrome, you remember Mr. Incredible, Mrs. Incredible, Dash, Violet, Jack. You know what I mean? Like
Edna,
Frozone. Like you don't have to like struggle to remember. Like maybe you don't remember Robert Parr as like his real name, but you remember all of the characters and like who they are. So
it does a better job with the villain. Because remember, I mean, I guess you guys have seen lots of superhero movies for a while. Marvel, the complaint about Marvel is like the Marvel villain problem. They didn't have like memorable villains, but this doesn't suffer from the same thing. I mean,
Disney like who's the villain from Thor: Dark World?
Yeah, exactly.
He looked like an elf. I just don't know.
Yeah. So, from the first Thor, I guess Loki, but like it's just And I guess this could be something we could talk about later on. But yeah, it just I really like Syndrome, that the fact that he's imperfect, it just makes him more memorable, and he has his own charisma too, you know. And so I guess
but they get captured.
Mm-hmm,
and then while they're hanging up, like you mentioned, Violet kind of frees him while Bob's spilling his guts about. He finally realizes that, you know, because he went back to that life, because, you know, he was at his peak, you know, at doing the superhero thing. Then he got married, settled down. He wasn't happy, and then he went back to it. And he was also kind of not. He was happy at first, but then he realized it's about doing that stuff that he loves, but with the people that he loves, and not just like by himself. So I liked that, but I mean,
it goes back to the whole family aspect too, you know, and stuff. Then I guess they
get free.
They get freed.
And, you know, they'd seen the rocket, so they're like, there's no jet in here. And he's like, well, we need something faster than a jet. And he's like, well, what's faster than a jet? A rocket, you know. And it, like, touches back to the rocket. And he's like, okay, I say that. But what are the launch codes? And then, you know, it comes full circle. Mirage helps him out. But I love when they go over to, like you brought over earlier, when he goes over to the van, because he's like, he needs something to carry them in. So he goes over to the van. It's like, every time someone runs, we're going to take a shot.
Yeah, that's a good scene.
It sounds like a dream game you do with like a horror movie. It's like every time someone dies, we're gonna take a shot. Or
put the hat on the corner of the TV, and every time someone wears the hat perfectly, you take a shot.
But as a kid, that just goes over your head. You know, the whole drink.
I love they caught the cork too, and they're like,
Then I guess by that point, Syndrome's already kind of trying to do a superhero shit in the city, and it shows how flawed Syndrome is, because he doesn't know how to be a superhero.
Well, I know. He's like, look at Jesus hunk of junk, and he punches it and clicks the button on his thing so the arm falls off. I'm sure he really punched up. Yeah. But I love the robot is like self-learning, so it shows the remote on his thing, and he goes like,
and Syndrome just gets knocked out.
Well, yeah, I know. That's so embarrassing. He gets shot of the thing, he flies over, hits his head on the thing. Like, what an embarrassing way to like go out too. But.
And it ties back to what you were saying, like that everything they show has a tie back.
Yes.
Because the conversation that the way that they lured him into the mission is by kind of misrepresenting what was happening with the machine and saying that basically it got so smart that it figured out, like, why do I have to be the one taking the orders? And then later on, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Well, and I love seeing him when it hits his thing and he's flying goofy. Like, it just reminisces back to him as Incrediboy. Like, like the way he's like kind of flying around, and on that moment, like he's lost talking to his.
I don't know. He's just a kid again. I guess at that point, then the family comes in, and before that, the Frozone.
That's the single best line. Honey, where's my super suit?
Where's my super suit?
Why do you need to know? I need it. What are you going? Don't do no dare and do. I've been planning this dinner for 2 months. The public is in danger. My dinner's in danger. Tell me where my suit is, woman. It's about the greater good.
It's like I'm the greatest good you're ever going to get. Yeah, that's.
I love how smooth he is too with his like downtown condo, and he like got that, and it's like the revolving. It's like opposite of Bob, where Bob's like in the suburban life, like he's got like the high rise and everything. Like, I love that. Like,
it just accents like overall just how smooth like Lucius is, and like when you see him as a character, you're like, oh, his place is probably smooth too, and like you see it, and you're like, yep. Do we ever learn who he married?
No, I hope we'll never do.
Did they say your name? Honey's the name.
Okay.
Yeah, which is funny because he calls her Honey, but like Honey. It's not just, but her name's Honey. But I love, I think it even has elevator music or like something jazz, something like while things are going down downtown. He's like,
I hope we never figure out what his wife looks like. I hope that just stays a mystery. You
think it's better that way?
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, so he joins the fight and everything, and it shows the family working together with...
I love their argument, too, of them going down the highway, and she's like, take 7. He's like, no, I gotta go take 7. Take 7! He's still got the blinkers going, but it feels very much like you guys were saying, like a real family fight. But if I'm gonna praise something like the cinematography in this fight... because they play a lot with what they did with Dash and the other one. Yeah. Where he shows a shot and maybe it's got like Mr. Incredible fighting the robot, and then in the background you maybe got the wife, and then it cuts over there really quick. But because the camera's stable, like they don't have to do shake shot or super wide, but you get an idea of where everybody is in relationships to each other and what they're doing. And so while she's like flinging the thing, you see Frozone in the back, and he's like, and then it goes over there. I don't know. It's just the way they cut and framed everything was like really nice.
Yeah, it's like there's always something going on. Like even like as they're working as a team, it's not individual shots of them. It's just you can see them working together as a team. And you wanted to touch it on the fight to me?
Oh yeah, well, like because I think that's even a lot of movies that are coming out today. Like I would say Infinity War.
Yeah.
Like it was very hard to tell where on the battlefield people were because they did a lot of like I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, like you didn't get a good sense of like okay, this is going on over here while this is like how
so it's for me the shots and also the scenery too, because it was so dark it was hard to see what was really going on.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Well, the scenery, well, and the thing is, they're on a city block, but like the way they frame it, when he's doing that, you can see so and so in the background. So that when they cut over there, you can see someone else. Yeah. So like you can kind of triangulate people's positions.
It adds scale.
It adds scale because it was fun to see. They played to everyone's strengths. Like she's using herself as a slingshot. Yeah. And then Frozone's freezing stuff, or he's skating around. Dash is like they played everyone's strength, but it didn't feel like fan service. Like, no. Like I remember like watching well, not Infinity War. Endgame, and they do like the shot of all the women heroes come. God. They come together, then their helmets come off in mid battle, and they like walk together, and like you don't get any like the goofy shots in The Incredibles. It all feels organic, Like
in Endgame, that scene was so much fan service to me, almost seemed like pandering.
Well, that's why I loved in Endgame. Like I loved when it was just Captain America, Thor, and Iron Man fighting him because it felt very emotionally charged. He picks up the hammer. Everyone's like, but then as soon as everyone else came in, I was like, oh, here comes the fan service. But you didn't really get that in The Incredibles, and I think it helps because they narrowed the amount of characters in the movie. So that they could give that shine to everyone.
You could do a lot more. Or you could do a lot more with less people. That's what that scene is showing too. And I also like how they kind of, I guess maybe skipping ahead, defeated the Omnidroid because they were still arguing, as a family and stuff, and it shows how smart and a callback to earlier how to defeat the Omnidroid, and it was a fun scene, and to me like the score in this movie is amazing. Like I can't wait to go home and actually go download the soundtrack because in that scene they even adds on, even though they're just arguing. Just the score makes it seem like there's a lot going on, like there's some weight to the fights.
Yeah, like throughout the entire movie, like the theme song of the movie is really fun. It's like that kind of like slick kind of jazz, like
it's got jazz, but then mixed with like superhero kind of and James Bond a little mixed in. I don't know. It's got all those themes in there, and so it's super fun. Like
it's like the music that they have throughout. Like it fits the tone of like every scene that it's playing. It's really good. Honestly, like Frozone as a power dude, like if I was Frozone, I'd be just like having the time of my life, like freezing, like paths to like skate down, dude.
Oh yeah, I love how he's got the skis, the skates, and the tin board thing like that all come out of his life.
Yeah, like he just looks like he's like genuinely having a good time out there. It's like I don't know.
It's fun. Yeah, it's fun to see him really use like his powers.
And we kind of see that for everybody. It's like they as they get more comfortable, like especially the adults. It's been a while since they've been able to just kind of like let loose. And just go with their powers to their fullest extent, and then the kids have like never been able to do that. So we kind of see everybody like working together to finally beat this thing, which like they've done a very good job of setting up. It's like if this thing gets out and is not contained to this area, it will have like dire consequences for everybody. But at the same time, like although there's this huge threat, everyone's kind of like getting comfortable, getting more confident because like they're figuring out their limitations and just how far their powers can take them.
Yeah, and the whole scene, the whole fight, is just this, like you said, just a level of fun to it. Just everybody use their powers and just.
But then you also have that dread too, because it's a big rope. Like it's very dangerous. So like when it's running after Lucius, like
it's rolling,
or is he gonna crush them, or is it? I don't know. It's just
Yeah,
it was the right amount of fun, but then also like threat and danger. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good balance. It's a good balance of both. And like going to your point with the cinematography and the camera, just the shot of the thing rolling after Lucius, it just adds to how big it is, and how dangerous it could be, and to the whole danger element of it. And I like after it defeated, that's when Syndrome wakes up. So like even his whole plan, he still fails. Like he's still
they become the hero.
Yeah, they still become the hero anyway. it's like after all that, he still fails. I thought it was funny. Like him just waking up, and his whole plan is basically it gets
the government agent picks him up, and he's like, oh, we're gonna bring back superheroes, but then they go home.
Yeah,
and so that home scene was meant to be adapted differently, and it was meant to be like the beginning of the movie.
Oh, really?
Because he'd started working on this in 1993. Very like loose ideas, and he always thought like how Syndrome. Remember how they come in? Syndrome's got the baby.
Yeah.
So his original thing was they were sleeping, and Syndrome's like a home invader comes in, and they try to fight him, but he freezes them, and then they hear the baby crying.
Oh, that's terrifying.
And so I know, right? Yeah. Like it's terrifying.
It's terrifying.
And he loved that idea, and he scrapped it at the end because he was like, it doesn't work as well as a scene by itself. It works really well, but like in the whole greater movie, scrapped it. But that was such an interesting thing where like, oh, we left it with the sitter, and then it's him, and I love the desperation in their voice whenever he busts the roof, he's flying off, and Helen's like, Bob, he's got the baby, he's getting away, we have to do something, but like I don't know, it was a nice little touch there, Like,
I really like actually even the scene before that when they're in the car. And you can hear the sitter, like, you can kind of get a story about what's going on in her, in her life, and that whole Jack storyline. And I like how, as it goes on, it goes from more like comedy and funny, and when it's like the sitter, that's when the danger comes in, like, oh shit, something's wrong. Yeah, and it just flows so well. And yeah, like then when you see Syndrome has the baby, that was terrifying.
Yeah, and like he's talking about like
my sidekick.
Yeah. He's like, oh, don't worry, I'll raise it better than you ever could, or whatever. That's like it's very terrifying.
Yeah,
and then like the big moment, we find out like Jack is not normal. Yeah, he's got everything going on. Like man, like what doesn't he have going on? Like he immediately like bursts into flames, and it's like
becomes a devil.
The devil,
metal baby.
It becomes heavy and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and like you said too, the desperation of the voice, like that's my baby. The mother, that's the mom. The family aspect coming up,
and he gets pulled into the jet engine. That was one of the best things.
It's just a full call back, and I like how there's the audio cue and the visual cue of him getting caught. Like once you can see the once he gets caught, there's like a noise and his facial reaction of him getting caught, like oh shit, and it explodes. And I like how when the mom goes to flies over and saves Jack. And Jack just becomes a baby again, just a kid, and it just becomes like that family, like a baby and the mom, all over again. And it was amazing. And I like how the kid, we've seen throughout the whole movie, the kid on the bicycle. Yeah, I was like, that was wickedly awesome. that was basically the audience at that point,
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, so and a good way to kind of like end it all, because like that. The kid is like seeing him like frustrated, and so like I don't know. It's kind of like you said. Like they don't throw away anything. Everything is there for a purpose. Like the kid is there, and he sees him at like his most frustrated, and like trying to like about to like just fling the car, and then the kid comes back again when he's like at his lowest moment, just kind of like depressed and like I don't know what to do anymore. He's like, what do you want, kid? He's like, I'm waiting for something incredible,
cool, I guess.
And then like brings him back at the end is like the last time we see the kid, and like everything's kind of like okay at the end. Like they just got done like Jack almost got kidnapped, but like at the end everything's okay, and I think everyone's kind of like gone through some sort of character development and like grown as a person. And like it's the perfect moment for that kid to like reemerge, and because like it for me it plots different points in the movie that kid's appearance.
That kid just got the whole like storyline, basically.
And then with Dash and Violet, they get to close off their storylines where she like wears stuff that is it's not all just like black, and she doesn't have her hair covering her face. She puts it back. She smiles. She gets her date with Tony Ridinger, and then Dash gets to finally compete, and they're like, no, Dash, no, not from behind, make close, quick for second.
Yeah, that was a very fun scene, and I also like the introduction of the villain. What's his name? Underminer. I love his line. Like, I am beneath you, and nothing's beneath me. Like, what sense does that make? Like, what are you talking about, bro? Then I even like his stereotypical villain line, like, I'm here to destroy happiness or something like that.
I'm here to wage war on peace and happiness.
Yeah, dude. Like, that was fun. This whole movie, I guess now we can talk about like, I guess the whole thing as a whole. This whole movie, it was fun from beginning to end.
I think a lot of it has to do with the screenplay. Like you said, there's no fat. Like everything has something to do, so it's really well paced. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that Brad Bird, he directed it and did the screenplay by himself. I mean, he did get input from other people, but he was like the writer. I think so many movies nowadays, because there's so much money on the line for these movies, they have so many cooks in the kitchen. Like, look at the new Star Wars trilogy, right? Like, that was a mess. All these different directors, all the people doing the screenplays and the writings. And they took a chance on him by letting him do that, because before then, the only movie he directed was Iron Giant, which I liked.
That's a movie too.
But at the time when it came out, it had a budget of like $50 million, and it only made back $30 million. So they were like nowadays, I realize I really like a lot of indie movies, like Baby Driver, Knives Out, stuff like that, because there's not that big budget expectation on them, so they take certain risks, or they can do certain things to like play to that director and that screenwriter's strengths, instead of trying to make it watered down to appeal to too many audiences. So I think that worked in its favor for this movie.
Like you're saying, like they don't have to follow a formula. They could do whatever they want. And it's funny enough, you bring Baby Driver, because Edgar Wright, he was supposed to do a Marvel movie. And he wanted to do it his way, but Marvel's like, yeah, it doesn't fit our formula. And he's like, all right, I'm not doing this shit anymore. He was supposed to do Ant-Man, actually. So, yeah, and because it's, Brad Bird's baby project, he was allowed to have fun with the movie. And it just you could just see it in the whole movie. It's just fun the whole way through.
And one thing that would contribute to this one, because he had been fired from Disney before, and then when he was brought in for Pixar, he asked for the other outcasts, because they have several projects going on at the same time. Cars was going on at the same time, and so he was like, look, anybody who's not fitting into their departments right now, the people that you're like considering firing, just give them to me. And so like people with a bunch of like pent up like creative frustration too also got to join his like team and do that. So I think that sometimes finding those misfits and like taking a chance on certain people, like it works out. I don't know.
You want touch on our thoughts on the movie?
It's just like, it's a really good movie. Like I said in the beginning, it's something for everyone. And just to go back to it, I think it avoids being formulaic the way a lot of the superhero movies are now. It really focuses a lot on like the drama, and not just them as the superheroes, but like their struggles of trying to do their work life superhero balance, and trying to like maintain the family, which through the writing just felt very real, very natural, at the same time like bringing in these super elements into it as well. The characters were written well, the story is really good, the cinematography is done really well. There are some points here and there where I guess it was just the style of the time, or the computational limits at the time. I'm like, okay, that scene, that lighting looks a little off, just certain things here and there where I'm like, okay, I think if they were to revisit that today, that would look a little better. I haven't seen the second Incredibles, but I imagine they probably fixed some of those.
Man, we could do a whole nother video. Because honestly, like for me, I don't think there's anything such as like a perfect movie. But I can definitely say this one has always been in my top 5.
I said the exact same thing.
Because of like between the screenplay, the cinematography, the characters, the action, the drama, like all of it together, it's always been in like my top 5 there. compared, which sounds funny because like some of my favorite movies like The Dark Knight or Incredibles, and I don't like them because they're superhero movies. I like them because of like other.
They're written well.
Yeah, they're just written really.
They're just
well.
good movies.
Yeah,
that happen to be superhero movies.
Yeah, but it's whereas like The Incredibles 2, like I think it's a hot mess. Because
yeah, we can make another episode about Incredibles 2. But the whole time I was watching Incredibles 1, I was like, how come Incredibles 2 wasn't this memorable, man?
I wish for The Incredibles 2, because it takes place right after the first Incredibles movie, I thought that they would have aged everyone up. Like they did with Toy Story, because that's what made Toy Story 3 so impactful. Was the whole time you grew up with Andy, so like we were Andy's age when that movie came out, and then like I was a senior in high school when the other one came out. You know, Andy's going off to college, and I'm like trying not to cry in the movie theater. You know,
yeah, no, dude. When they were about to get burnt up, I was about to cry. No,
I was getting ready.
I can't.
Like
they're holding hands and stuff, and I was like, I guess we're going together, boys.
I forgot it was like a Disney Pixar.
Yeah, man.
And I was just like, they're really about to die. And
I was just crying.
And then the clock.
Yeah.
That was just like, oh man, I was in the theater. I was like,
yeah, man. But I mean, we can do Incredibles 2 since you haven't seen it.
Sometime.
Yeah, sometime later.
Maybe. If it's as much of a best as you say it is, maybe not.
Hey, I mean that's good content, man.
Maybe we'll see how it goes.
But I guess you guys want to give your ratings. No.
Snap. I'll give it. I'll say 8.5 mimosas.
Oh, mimosas. I'll give it. Like I said, my flaw at the beginning was the whole suicide thing, but she already talked to me about it, and I guess I have to just let that go. I mean, it just shows, like you guys said, just how the city was, all the stuff going on. With that being my only flaw, and just kind of let it go, I'll give this a 10. A 10 snap, I guess, caped. Always go like, well, I don't know what to do. Caught caped out of 10.
Yeah, I don't know if I give it a 10. Well, I don't know if I give any movie a 10, to be fair. But this is like the highest rating I would give any movie. Like, in my opinion, you know, like a 9 or 9.5, something like that. Just because it's, everything about it just works well. Like you said, they don't ask me to suspend my disbelief so much that I'm like, this is so goofy. Or this is not. It's the right amount of like charm and drama and actually, I don't know, just everything together. Like it just works.
Yeah, even with my 10 rating, it's like no movie's perfect, but for 10, for me, it's just like it's rewatchable. It's timeless.
Oh yeah,
it's a family movie, so I can show this to my kids.
All the jokes are defined within the movie. I don't know if you've seen that, but there's so many things like you try to go rewatch it, and it's just a bunch of pop culture jokes, and they don't hold up 10, 15 years later. But like all the jokes in this movie are like defined within it. So I like laugh all over again. Like,
it's
Honey,
timeless.
where's my super suit? It doesn't matter how many times I've heard that. Like I'm like over there, like rolling on the floor. I got like my face in my shirt or whatever. You know, it's just...
And it's like 20 years from now, somebody who really just watched this movie, they'll still get the jokes because it's not like, hey, remember Beyonce or some shit like that. You know? So yeah, but yeah, for me, it was a perfect, because I remember it being like amazing as a kid. And you know, sometimes you see things as an adult, like, okay, I was a kid back then, this shit's kind of goofy. Even as adults, I'm about to be 28, I was still having the time of my life watching this movie. So that's why I give it a 10. But so yeah, anything else you want to touch on with the superhero movies, or I mean Disney, Pixar?
I think they're really interesting in like the way that like they even have code names while they're making movies. So like if information is to get leaked, it's not necessarily like the working title that they have. It's some code name that they have.
Most movies do.
Yeah. Oh, they do?
Yeah, most movies do.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, especially when they're shipping it too, because like I remember reading about The Dark Knight got shipped as something else to theaters. Most movies have to have like a hidden title. Yeah, just
what was the one for this one? Do you know? Like,
yeah, I don't know.
No, I don't remember. I'd have to go back and look at it. But there's a place where they keep a lot of like the original sketches and a lot of like if they do sculpts for it, like original sculpts and stuff like that. It's kind of like a vault that they have where they keep everything. So I mean, it's not open to the public, but if we ever somehow got access to it, like man, that'd probably be a great place to just walk through and look at everything that they have there.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're very interesting with the way that. Did you want to promote at all?
Yeah, your book.
Yeah, I mean, I'm writing a book. It should come out at the end of the summer. I've got art here, and most of this art's from the projects that we're working on. And so the first book, it'll be about these frog people. It's called Heart of Anura, and we're just in the editing phase right now. But by August, you should be able to download it on my website, and you can follow us for updates. I'm on Instagram under Quetzali Publishing.
We'll link the website too in the description.
Oh yeah, we can definitely do that.
And the Instagram too.
Yeah. Awesome sauce.
Got anything you want?
I got everything. You got
No, I'm good.
That I want to promote?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I mean, no.
But yeah, I mean,
the
that's
podcast.
yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Again.
Promote, likes, and subscribe.
Like and subscribe, please.
Otherwise, Mr. Incredible might have to pay you.
Yeah. You'll be
Take a shot every time someone runs.
Yeah. Take a shot every time somebody subscribes. But yeah, I guess that is it for this episode. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you'll definitely be coming up more. You got good energy. You know your movies and stuff like that. So yeah, I guess that is all. We'll see you guys next time. Next episode.
Peace.